Welcome to StackHunters. I'm Bradley Stalder at FF Stalder. Joining me this week, Dan Williamson at Overhyped Sleeper. That's right. Dan,
Indeed.
Welcome back. I am here as well. We missed out last week. There were some technical issues with StreamYard. Adam Krautwurst and I are rescheduling that shootout scheduled show. So make sure you guys are checking this out. Adam and I are going to work hard to get that out. Dan and I are also going to continue to pump out some great content for you in the best ball streets. So I'm very excited to be jumping in with Dan. Tonight, our agenda is going to be looking at a couple slow drafts, making a few selections, like talking through the process of who's on the board, what does the team structure look like, how badly has Bradley screwed up this team so far, what pathways could we make to iron out this team or these few teams, and then we're actually going to do a live draft on Underdog Fantasy. So make sure you guys are using the promo code Underworld for a 100% deposit. It's actually almost, isn't it 150% deposit match with $100? I think it's an updated one.
I believe so, but I'm not sure.
Even
on that,
more.
So
yeah, I think
you caught me unprepared on that one, Brad.
That's okay. We use the promo code Underworld. You'll get a really, really nice bonus. The Underdog Fantasy has been a great supporter of the Underworld for many years, so shout out to them. We're going to have a great time getting into that. All of that and more right after this. All right, Dan, we are on the clock. Without further ado, I'm also going to adjust the brand so that we can get some StackHunters love in here. There we go. So if we're looking at the board, we're here in round 8. And in round 8, I'm going to adjust how it looks as well. Making sure we are all set here. That's not going to work. We want this one. That's probably going to be okay.
Yeah, the less people see of us, the better, probably, and the more they see of the board,
probably
even more, the better.
The best we can do. So we're on the clock. I'm on the clock, and we already have a team that looks like this. We have Lamar Jackson and CJ Stroud. Problem is they both have bye weeks 14. As you can tell, those were drafted before we knew the bye weeks. Great, thanks. But we got a 14 pick discount on CJ Stroud. This was a 0 RB team. Zamir White at running back, Puka, Devontae Adams, Cooper Kupp, Calvin Ridley, and no tight end. So we are in round 8. We've got double quarterbacks, power quarterbacks, running back, Zamir White, and 4 wide receivers. We're looking at available. We could go a tight end. Jake Ferguson is hanging out there. Not much of an ADP discount. There doesn't look to be any ADP discounts right here. We could be targeting a running back. I have in the queue Jonathan Brooks, who I'm very, very high on this year. But the rest of the running backs are also a possibility, and we have no interest in the quarterback Dak Prescott, Jordan Love at this point. So we've got a lot of running backs and Jake Ferguson probably on cue here. Dan, what are you thinking if you're in this position?
So right now I'm looking at the fact that, and I'm thinking actually several steps beyond, which, that third quarterback, clearly, Matthew Stafford would probably be a good way to go just because you've got Puka and Cooper Kupp. And that's going to allow you to, start a secondary, you've got a secondary stack started already. You're already working on the Baltimore-Houston game in Week 17. And this opens up the Rams versus Arizona. So you can maybe grab some Arizona players later. I'm guessing most of the major ones are gone. But do we have any Arizona running backs still left on the board? Or it looks like Connor is still there?
Yes, Connor would be there, and same with... So Connor is there.
Mm-hmm. So that's somebody to think about.
And then we also have Trey Benson, not too far behind either.
Right. And you are pick what here?
This
How
is
long till your next?
8-4,
Okay. So you've got a
9-9.
okay. Yeah. So you got a ways to go. Um, so yeah, probably by the time you pick next, both of those Arizona running backs might be off. Um, Kyler Murray. Well, I don't really want to quarterback this early for you, even if he
No.
was still there.
There's just
How he
so
is.
much ADP that's been, or so much value that's been given to the quarterback already. So
Right. Yeah.
that's why I was looking at a Jonathan Brooks. It would be an
Mhm.
offhand, Carolina. Well, Carolina, Tennessee faces each other. That would be, a little correlation with Calvin Ridley.
Yeah, it's I believe Carolina, Tampa Bay in Week 17. If you're looking for the 17
Oh, was I?
correlation, but yeah, they would face each other twice during the season.
Yes.
Just none during the shootout weeks. Um, let's see, Tennessee. Who do they have? Tennessee has Jacksonville the final week, so that's
Tennessee,
another place.
Jacksonville. That's right. That's
Yeah.
right.
So that's another place that we could look for a little bit of correlation is with Jacksonville. Um, but given that you don't have any running backs now, or you only have the one, Zamir White. How about Kamara? Is he around?
He is way off the board.
Way off the board. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, Kamara's off the board. Zach Moss is interesting here. Tony Pollard, I think, is interesting
Yep.
here. Those are players as well that I'm clicking a lot at this round.
Yeah, I'm looking at it, and I just don't see a good correlation that really works right now without losing value. I do like the Moss idea. I think he's got a really strong shot at a Mixon like role. It just
Yes.
kind of depends on how they use Chase Brown. I mean, I can see it going either way. But you're just going to have to take your bets, one way or the other in any individual league. So Moss, I think, is a good pick here. Given that you're starting off kind of zero RB, Brooks is one that I prefer to add in as like a third RB rather than a second RB. But if you feel strongly about him, then go ahead and go for him. But I think it's probably Brooks or Moss here.
Yeah, let's go with Zach Moss. I like that idea. I've been drafting a lot of Zach Moss. Even if he's 75% of what Joe Mixon had last year, we're looking at a top 24 running back pretty easily with upside, and you're getting him in the middle of the 8th round. Like this is the pathway for success. And if we're believing in a Cincinnati bounce back, Zach Moss is going to be part of that. They paid him to be that way. And Chase Brown, yes, had some nice yards per route run metrics out of the running back, but those are not very sticky from the running back position. And it was small sample size as well. So
Yep.
really, if I'm picking between Chase Brown and Zach Moss, I think it's pretty easily Zach Moss right now.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Yeah, that looks good.
Cool. Let's look at one more. Let's look at the Pug. So that was a Bestball Mania one. This is the Pug. And this is a round one. We haven't made a selection yet. The Pug just came out today, I believe, and it's a max 3 entry.
Okay.
So $12 entry, max 3. So this is maxed out already. And we're looking at A.J. Brown, Garrett Wilson, Marvin Harrison, Drake London. We're here. We're going to double tap here pretty soon. I feel like I've been alternating, and when I've been getting into this 1-2 turn, Dan, between A.J. Brown, Garrett Wilson, pretty much those two, I've been clicking a lot at this spot. Do you have a preference, or is there a differentiator for you between those? And maybe, I think there is a tier break between them and Marvin Harrison, Drake London.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a tier break there. Personally, I've got London above Marvin Harrison. But as far as A.J. Brown and Garrett Wilson, I pretty clear preference to AJ Brown, just because there's so much we know about that offense and his role in it. I mean, even with a new offensive coordinator, I think that's very, very safe. Obviously, we think Garrett Wilson is going to be used a lot, but what we don't know is to what extent they're going to try to smash a lot of Breece Hall later in games and things like that. So with Wilson, we've seen everything. I definitely want exposure to him, and you've got to take that exposure early here. But in a total vacuum, I'll take AJ Brown just a touch ahead of Garrett Wilson.
And the fun thing is that you can tap Brown and then come back around and take Saquon Barkley. Get Philly to start out. So I think that's what we'll want to do, is go with AJ Brown here. The other concern you mentioned, they could go Breece Hall heavy. The other concern is that the New York Jets under Aaron Rodgers, yes, they're super efficient. That's what Rodgers has been in the past, but they're also very slow pace of play. They're not going to get a lot of pass. They're not going to get a lot of pass attempts. That's going to operate with efficiency instead of volume. And so the concern is that, if they do get offensive touches, you mentioned it's going to be a lot of Breece Hall out of the backfield in like an Aaron Jones plus type of role, which we've seen. The reason why Breece Hall is getting drafted where he is because he's great, but also because of that opportunity. Whereas, Garrett Wilson could disappear through no fault of his own for various reasons, not just Breece Hall, but also the way in which the offense is going to operate with Aaron Rodgers.
Right. Yeah. I mean, the good news about this offense is you've got Aaron Rodgers in control, and he can sit back and survey the defense and come up with exactly the probably the right read, and maybe even come up with put somebody in motion or something to confuse the defense even a little bit more. But the bad news is it's taking him like 45 seconds, 40 seconds to do it, and so he's always snapping the ball with 1, 2, 3 seconds left. It's pretty rare that they're moving real quick.
Yeah, so this is, these are the types of things that as you're starting your draft, and it seems like there is a pretty clear tier if we're looking at who's going to be next. Like the top 8 are pretty set. We look at the Christian McCaffrey usually goes at 1, 30% of the time. Dan and I talked about this a couple weeks ago. CD Lamb at 2, but like 30% of the time you're going to have Christian McCaffrey fall to the 2, and then it's some combination of Chase, Hill, Brown, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Bijan Robinson, Breece Hall, and then we have seen Justin Jefferson get tacked on here at like the 1-6, 1-7, 1-8, but I think there's a clear like top 5 with maybe Bijan and Breece getting mixed in there as well. So this top 7, I don't think is going to be very movable as we're moving forward. What are your takes on that there, Dan?
Yeah, I think that's very true. The order might be different, but it's probably going to be pretty much the same cast of characters there. To me, the one that I'm least excited about is probably Jamar Chase. Just
don't tell Matt Kelly that.
Spicy. But trying to think of what Jim Coventry, I think it was, with RotoWire, just tweeted out today, and I 100% agree with him that since they started using too high shells over the top, Chase just has not been the same. His ceiling, his floor is still there, but his ceiling is not there the way that it used to be. And until they show me that they have a way around that that we haven't seen yet, that causes me to kind of move Chase to the back of that pack. I mean, I'm not saying Chase is a terrible pick, and I'm certainly going to have my share, but if he's going that high, I'm probably going to be a little bit underweight on him. If he ends up sliding back to 1-6, 1-7, I'll probably be even weight or more.
It would have been much nicer to see T. Higgins move on.
Yeah.
And then you had the probability of Jamar Chase getting hyper-targeted from Joe Burrow. Instead, you have a major rock or major stone in your knapsack, in terms of target share. And so there's just not going to be as much of an opportunity for those massive 35 to 50% target share games that could happen if T. Higgins was out.
Right, exactly. And I think that's the way a lot of people are going to be, a lot of defenses are going to be approaching the Cincinnati offenses. We don't want to let Chase beat us. If he can beat us with Higgins and Burton and, whatever you got at tight end, then, go right ahead.
Dan Williamson throwing shade at Mike Gesicki.
Just a little, yes.
Just a little. Well, when we come back, Dan and I will be drafting a Bestball Mania 5 team. So be ready to jump in with us on Underdog Fantasy right after this.
This episode is made possible by Underdog Fantasy, and Underdog Fantasy is the leader in best ball. When you go to join an Underdog Fantasy best ball draft, it fills very quickly. Especially now, it's Best Ball Mania season, baby! Best Ball Mania 5! I can't believe they're at Best Ball Mania 5 already. $15 million in prizes. They're giving out $15 million with $1.5 million to first. Playing in best ball leagues makes you better. It helps train you on player value and strategy. And Underdog offers a lot more than just best ball contests. They offer pick'ems. My new favorite, the golf pick'ems. But they have the NBA pick'ems, baseball pick'ems going on throughout the offseason. Hit the pick'ems, back to best ball, hit the pick'ems. So use promo code Underworld. Promo code Underworld gets you a 50% deposit bonus up to $250. So they've increased the maximum deposit bonus. It was $100. Now it's up to $125. When you get the Underdog app, use promo code Underworld and go draft your ass off.
That's right. Use promo code Underworld on PlayerProfiler to support us, but also to have fun in Bestball Mania 5. That's right. I knew they had increased their maximum deposit match. So 50% deposit match up to $250. That means $375 for first-time depositors. Hop into the Bestball Mania. We're going to do that in just a moment. As you can tell, it's already 11.5% filled. Almost 78,000 entrants. Almost 700,000 in the capacity, 15 million in prizes, 1.5 mil to first, $750,000 to second, and $500,000 to third. Dan, what are the differences between this year and in previous years? Is it seems like the prize pool is a little flatter, and it makes more sense, frankly, from a max entry perspective, that if one of your teams makes the finals, you get all of your money back. So what are your thoughts before we enter this draft?
Yeah, I definitely like the prize structure now. I believe they did away with the regular season prizes, just kind of how they funded the extra, as well as increasing the size of the contest. But I like the fact that, with as big of a final field as they're going to have, that you've got several six-figure prizes available. So that makes it a lot easier to stomach not coming in first.
All right. Well, Dan and I are going to enter this Bestball Mania 5, 30-second picks. Yes, we want to draft. Oh, I got to enable location. No, they are here in Michigan. So maybe I need to refresh.
And congrats on that, Bradley.
This is great. Maybe I need to, maybe let me just do it from the app. I think that'll be better. Why don't I do it there? So we'll re-enter. Yep, that's not going to be a problem at all. And we are in 2 more to start. This is very good. We've got our drafts up. Let's go to active and Bestball Mania. Here we go. Go to draft. Okay, not right now. Okay, cool. So we're waiting for one. That's the cool thing about Underdog Fantasy is it'll just fill just quickly. You don't have to wait around. That's been something that's been frustrating from time to time in other best ball sites is you're not sure when it's going to fill, but for us, it's going to fill right away. So Dan and I get the 1-9. So we kind of thought about this spot already, that there is a major tier break, in terms of who's going to be there. Maybe someone will fall to us, but we've got 6 Shield Bros in front of us.
Oh, yeah.
This is not going to be easy, but I think we'll have a little bit of fun. At the 1-9, we'll look at whether Breece Hall falls a little bit, Puka, and as we displayed earlier, AJ Brown is on our radar as well for the wide receivers. So, Dan, any other thoughts as we're preparing for the Bestball Mania 5 draft that's starting in about 10 seconds?
No, I think he summarized it pretty well. I mean, it's just going to be a matter of seeing if anybody crazy falls to us. And if not, we're looking at AJ, Puka, Garrett Wilson.
All right.
Probably the options there.
We are underway. And yeah, this is great. We see Christian McCaffrey go off the board, CeeDee Lamb easily go off the board there. This is textbook start. No surprises there. I haven't seen too many crazy drafts, but I did see Aiden O'Connell go 7th overall in a puppy draft. So that's probably going to get thrown out.
More than likely, you would think. Yeah.
Yeah. Usually in the Bestball Mania streets, you don't see too much wackiness. Occasionally you'll see a few reaches here or there. But some of the strategies that panned out for last year is not to reach, typically not to reach, and to consider ADP values of 12 or more as an actual value. Anything less than 12 or so is still, you want to focus on structure more. But the 12 plus ADP values, is something that we need to consider. And so we're on the clock here, Dan, and it's Puka, AJ Brown, Garrett Wilson.
Dealer's choice here, Bradley. Who do you want?
I like Puka. I'm a Puka believer. I've been a Puka believer. I'm here for it. And if we're fading or doing any fading of Cooper Kupp this year, then we have to pendulum swing in favor of Puka Nacua. I'm here for all that. He earned it right out of the gate, and we know Matthew Stafford is a kingmaker, and he will continue to make Puka Nacua king.
Yes, definitely agree. All right, so the 112 is about to double tap here, and then we'll have a better idea of what might be coming down the pike for us.
Yeah, we'll be up here in just a couple picks. For me, if there are some of the running backs are a consideration here, but I also either like Devontae Adams, Deebo Samuel, or Chris Olave. I've usually been, maybe Drake London, but that's a lot of projection, Dan. That's a hard one to say. I'm confident that he's going to be better than the wide receiver 10. I know you like him a lot. What's the bull case for Drake London as we're considering him here?
The bull case for Drake London is basically Kirk Cousins. If Cousins is Cousins, he's, and London is playing the X receiver role. That's something Cousins is very familiar with hitting. So I do like him a lot here. But if you want to go a different way, I'm fine with that.
Well, Drake London is our selection here.
Very nice. I like that.
Yes. We start Puka, Drake London. That's got to feel pretty good, Dan.
Yes, it does. I mean, you feel like you've got two wide receivers here who definitely have a shot to be top 5. As you say with London, it does take a little bit more projection. We haven't seen him do it yet. But we can look at the reasons why, and it's easy to see the path how he does get there. Just mostly through volume, and that Rams style offense. The Sean McVay offense. That is also going to work in his favor quite a bit.
And we saw rookie year Drake London earn a 28% target share. It was last year that it was a little lower at about 23%. But Drake London, he was a top 3 rookie dynasty pick when he came out a couple years ago. It was clearly him, and then just a couple others that were always in the top 3 cluster of your rookie drafts, because we knew what kind of wide receiver profile he was. He won everywhere. He fit the big size. He was fast, strong, and now he gets the quarterback who has been a kingmaker too.
Yep.
Not to take away anything from Justin Jefferson, but we look at what Kirk Cousins was able to do with, TJ Hockenson during the half season, full season where TJ Hockenson played with Kirk Cousins, and then you have Justin Jefferson. We were able to project good play for Jordan Addison as well. So there's pathway for Kirk Cousins as long as he's healthy, to be out there and get some volume.
Not to mention a couple older characters named Stephon Diggs and Adam Thielen. So,
yes.
And to your point on Olave, who is another guy that I am drafting, I do like the potential for a situation to improve. But just like Drake London, you've got to make some assumptions to get him up there, because his average depth of target has been, not quite what we're looking for in his target percentage. Do you have off the top of your head? I'm forgetting what percent of the time he was targeted last year.
Chris Olave?
Olave.
I think it was like 24%.
Okay. Yeah, which we'd like to see bump up just a little bit as well. But, basically there's nobody standing in his way in that offense is kind of the way.
It's Olave, and then it's multi-tiers until you get to Shaheed and, your Jawan Johnsons of the world and A.T. Perry's. So, right. Dan, we're almost up. In this spot, I love tapping Josh Allen. I don't know. I just can't help myself. But do you have anyone else that you've also been tapping at this spot?
That's a fair pick. I think there is a tier break after Pittman here at wide receiver.
Yes.
Quarterback, I think we can come pretty close to approximating Josh Allen.
All right, we'll go Pittman. I'm cool with that. Pittman as a wide receiver 3, I'm fine with. I'm more uncomfortable with Pittman as a wide receiver 2, and I'm not comfortable with him as a wide receiver 1 at all.
Right.
So you have, I'm not worried about like the injury scare that happened at OTAs a couple days ago. Like that, it seems like everything's going to be fine with his knee. But people were watching him very closely, and I'm wondering if we can get one of those quarterbacks on the way back.
We might be able to, because one team took Flowers. They might be looking to take. And they took somebody took
Jackson and Andrews.
Yeah. Wow. So Flowers, Jackson, and Andrews went back to back to back. So somebody stacked Jackson and Andrews. I think the Flowers guy was probably hoping to stack Jackson with him. So it's almost back to us. We still have Josh Allen and Jalen Hurts both on the board. And there's Jalen Hurts. And this is where it can sometimes bite you. We went with the Puka, and if we'd gone with A.J. Brown, we'd have had that Brown Hurts stack. But, you can't see the future. So, it's
okay. Can't win them all. But we've got 10 seconds. Do you want Jalen Hurts here? We can go.
I like Jalen Hurts a lot here. I think that's a great pick.
Oh,
nice.
Yeah. Round 4, Jalen Hurts. We're here for that.
Yes, we are.
And I think, something for our listeners and viewers that we need to remember is that quarterback in a half-point best ball tournament scores the most points relative to the other position, the singular starting position roles. You can access 25 points from a top 5 quarterback. It's a lot harder to get 25 points from a top 5 running back or top 5 wide receiver. The average wide receiver typically gives you 22 or 23 from a top 5, whereas, a top 5 quarterback gets you 25 plus. And so that major contribution, especially considering that Hurts and Allen are very consistent in getting you those high ceiling and also high floor games, like ignoring elite quarterback is a folly, especially for the guys like Jackson, Hurts, Josh Allen. Like, we want to be targeting elite quarterback at the right price, of course. But Dan, I've gone on the record saying that I think that that Josh Allen, even though he's never going to be an ADP first round pick, he's going to pay off wherever he's drafted in the end of round 3 or round 4. He's going to be a value based on what he's able to do throwing and also rushing the ball.
Right, exactly. And what that also does is it kind of helps you so that you don't have to put too much into quarterback in the mid rounds. If there are other values coming up, you can kind of safely ignore quarterback because you have a guy who's going to get you, 25 points a lot of weeks. Not every week, but a lot of weeks.
Our running backs required in this contest.
Well, this was in response to Michael Darian, who said he's nervous for our running back room. I'm not nervous at all.
No, there's some awesome running backs that go in round
Yep.
6, round 7. Absolutely.
Exactly. And with this being best ball, we don't have to worry about picking who we're going to start every week. So if we get a collection of good solid assets that are on good offenses, we're probably going to be sitting just fine at running back.
Yeah, the other thing to consider is what has history told us about the structures of what is won Bestball Mania. I mean, looking over the last couple of years, we've seen 0 running back teams. They're the ones who win. They're the ones who, from last year, it was a Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs stack in rounds 1, round 2. That was able to propel, and you were able to get there were some nice values in terms of running back and wide receiver. Tank Dells and Kyron Williams, obviously near the end of the drafts, but even 2 years ago, the winner of the season-long tournament had both Jalen Hurts and Joe Burrow on their team. And the question was, do you pick Burrow or Hurts? The answer was actually both. Isn't that funny?
It is, yeah. That's not the answer you would expect.
No.
Sure. All right, so we are coming up here, 3 more picks before ours, so we can take a look and see what we have available to us. And I don't know, how do you feel about Cook, White, and Mixon? Those 3 running backs.
I have been clicking a lot of Cook in the Josh Allen builds.
Yep.
But it's smoke or fire, Dan, in terms of Bucky Irving carving out a significant role. Like, is it going to eat in enough of Rachaad White, or is that already built into the fact that Rachaad White is now a back-end 5th-round pick?
Yeah, I think it's built in there a little bit. And I think there's something to be said for Joe Mixon, who basically has no competition whatsoever. What scares you is kind of his age and the fact that he hasn't been terribly efficient himself.
Yeah, he's just not good at running the ball.
But, if you are given the opportunity enough, you will pile up points. If they target him, which I think they probably will, in the passing game, you'll pile up points there, and you fall in the end zone a few times, you pile up points there.
Well, let's believe in Houston's offense, yeah?
Yeah, I'm good with that.
All right, Joe Mixon is our selection. We did deviate from 0 RB at the end of round 5. Oops, sorry guys. But now we can kind of pivot a little bit. Do you want to go Drake London, Kyle Pitts?
Yeah, we can definitely do that.
No, we can't because he just went up.
Well, then I'll stop looking into it when it is shootout schedule.
Rachaad White might come all the way back to us. We'll see.
He might. If he doesn't, who are you liking amongst the wide receivers available?
Rachaad White is there. I think we take him, Dan.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Cool. We didn't even need to talk wide receivers. The Jaden Reeds, Rome Odunze, Jordan Addison, Keon Coleman, Brian Thomas. I'm mostly avoiding those tiers of that entire tier of wide receiver unless I have pieces of that already. Like if I have a Keenan Allen or a DJ Moore, I don't mind taking a Rome Odunze. I don't mind tacking on a Jordan Addison here or there. Keon Coleman usually in the Bills stacks, and Brian Thomas in like a Jacksonville, I've a Jacksonville tapping. Usually if I'm at the turn with Brian Thomas and Evan Ingram. I'll double tap those to get an easy Jacksonville duo. But other than that, Dan, like I don't want any of these players for themselves, if that makes sense.
Right, exactly. They're definitely not great standalone picks for the most part. One thing I've done a couple times is put together like a Jordan Addison and then add on a TJ Hockenson later, because I do think those two are going to mesh nicely, because if Hockenson is missing the first few games of the season, Addison is going to get a good chance to establish himself in the offense. And we know that once Hockenson comes back, he will get folded back in. He's been way too big of a part of this offense in the past to be kind of relegated to a secondary role. So,
all right, so we're looking at the board here. I was able to pull up the board, and we just saw Alvin Kamara go off. I like Alvin Kamara in round 7. That's a real good value. He was a top 5 running back in terms of fantasy points per game last year, and we kind of forgot about him.
Mm-hmm. Right, exactly. Yeah, the pick, that's happened since we made our pick that at running back that I like the least is David Montgomery. I just don't see the ceiling outcome there, unless, of course, Gibbs gets hurt. But that's not a great way to draft.
No.
I would have loved if Evan Ingram had made it to us. I didn't think he would, but that would have been a nice pick for us.
That would have been a very nice pick for us. I like Ramondre Stevenson in this spot. I know we're kind of table talking here, but if we get sniped, so be it.
Right.
I like him.
Who do we have available at wide receiver? I can't see the
Deontay Johnson, Rashi Rice, and Christian Watson at wide receiver.
Deontay Johnson's not a bad, or Christian Watson. I like either one of those. I think Deontay Johnson.
He's going to be the clear wide receiver 1 on the team.
Yeah, so Carolina's got Tampa Bay. They've got Dallas, Arizona, and Tampa Bay through the shootout.
Well, we've got Tampa Bay then. Might as well go Deontay, yeah?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's our best shot.
To get the wide receiver 1 on a team at wide receiver 44, that's a great value. And the reality is Deontay Johnson, yes, he's not a high ceiling guy, but as our wide receiver 4, we're looking for a guy who will contribute 8.5 to 15.5 points and half-point scoring every week. We're able to survive some zeros here and there, and that's why I do like Christian Watson as a major upside type of play,
right.
And he's definitely available here. I don't know about you, Dan, but it's going to be hard to not click Christian Watson here.
I am fully on board. I figured he'd be gone by now. So yeah, we're either Christian Watson or Jameson Williams. Take your pick.
Yeah,
I see those guys as being very much the same.
Yeah, we're going Christian Watson here. There is a lot of positivity coming out of Lions OTAs right now about Jameson Williams. Dan Campbell went out of his way to say that Jameson Williams is the most improved player for the Detroit Lions and that he is, quote, a man on a mission. And looking at what Dan Campbell has said in terms of Coach Speak Index, that man does not lie. He knows his ball, and if he says something, we got to believe it. And so Jameson Williams, I think, is a player that we very much should be considering in the top 48 as a massive ceiling guy in the same vein as Will Fuller's of the past.
Yes, definitely. However, if you the listener or viewer, I suppose especially the viewer, are wondering why we went with Christian Watson, all you really need to do is look over Bradley's shoulder here.
Yes, go Pack, go baby, go Pack, go.
So we have to give Bradley some grace to get his homer pick in there.
Well, look, I'm here for it. Christian Watson, the big question is he going to be any good? And I've always been of the opinion that yes, he's very good. It's just he's been hurt by the injury bug, and everyone is like, oh, they're injury prone. They're all of these injured players are injury prone until they're not. That's
Right.
the dirty little secret, Dan, is that sometimes these players get tabbed as injury prone after 1 or 2 years, and then they're left for dead by the fantasy community. Keenan Allen, dealt with all these different injuries, these soft tissue issues, and then he went on to crush. And so, look, we want to be in on players who have the efficiency metrics that Christian Watson has been putting up the last couple years. I'm trying to pull up the stats that Dwayne McFarland pulled up yesterday regarding Christian Watson, but the long story short is that Watson has been an absolute baller when they're all three wide receivers, Jaden Reed and Christian Watson and who's the other one? Romeo Doubs. When all three have been on the field at the same time, it's clearly been Christian Watson earning the targets, earning the touchdowns, yards per route run. He's been the guy when they've been out there. The concern with Jaden Reed is that he gets pulled off the field and with the 2 tight end sets, and the concern with Romeo Doubs is that he's just not good.
Right. Exactly. And Doubs, we say, well, the concern is he's not good. He absolutely destroyed every other Green Bay wide receiver in the playoffs. So,
well, and I mean, Bo Melton also had a 100-yard game. I mean, come on. And
that's true.
I mean, Dontavion Wicks has been getting a lot of love too. So let's make sure we're also rotating in Wicks.
Yeah, love Wicks, and I don't mind taking him with Watson at all because those two tend to be complementary players.
Oh, we are on the clock.
Okay.
Do you want to tap? Oh, we can get Jordan Love.
Yeah, I like Love here. I didn't think he would last. I was going to say
I didn't think we would last either, babe. Let's go.
Yes.
Watson Love.
Gotta love that. But I also tweeted out yesterday that Dontavion Wicks is really almost a 1-for-1 replacement for Christian Watson. I mean, if you take a look at Wicks's stats the weeks that Watson is out,
yes,
versus and prorate that over a full season, and then take a look at Watson prorated over a full season, it's almost identical. I mean, it's just scary. So,
yeah, don't be sleeping on Dontavion Wicks because, right. I mean, one of the other things that we have to keep in mind is he performed last year. His PFF receiving grade was 77, which is really good, and his yards per route run respectable. So we want to be in on players who are showing out that type of percentage. Here we go. I got the Dwayne McFarland stuff. So Packers target shares in 2023 with Jaden Reed, Christian Watson, Romeo Doubs on the field. Watson 27%, Reed 22%, Romeo Doubs 18%. All right, we're on the clock here.
All right.
We can go Dallas Goedert to stack.
We can, and that's about the only time I ever take Goddard, but that's fine. I think that's a fine pick here.
All right.
So let's show everybody who all we've got on our roster for those who are having trouble keeping track.
Yes. We've got. Let me zoom in a little bit as well. We've got Jalen Hurts and Jordan Love. We've got Joe Mixon and Rachaad White. Puka Nacua, Drake London, Michael Pittman, Deontay Johnson, Christian Watson, and our tight end right now is Dallas Goedert. We'll also pull up the board so you can see that as well. So we started with Puka Nacua. Then we went Drake London, Michael Pittman round 3, Jalen Hurts round 4, who fell a little bit for us, Joe Mixon, Rachaad White, and then we get Deontay Johnson at pick 81, Christian Watson all the way at 88. Jordan Love fell to us. And then we got our Dallas Goedert stack with Jalen Hurts. Dan, how are you feeling about this team so far?
Yeah, I like this team. It's coming together very nicely. We've gotten a couple of decent ADP values, and it, as we were talking about earlier, it is important to jump on those when you can, because stacking is great, but getting people after ADP probably does you even a little bit more. So you certainly don't want to just avoid that or not take that into account. I'm pulling up my splits. Okay, so Watson, if you prorate his production in 2023 to a full season, we're looking at 53 receptions, 10 TDs, 100 targets, 797 yards. And then if you prorate Dontavian Wicks when Christian Watson wasn't in the game, you're looking at 53 receptions, 10 TDs, 83 targets, 709 yards. So receptions are exactly the same. TDs are exactly the same. Targets, 83 for Wicks, 100 for Christian Watson, and receiving yards, 797 for Watson, 709 for Wicks. So you're looking
pretty
at
close.
In a full PPR, that would be 183 for Wicks and 191 for Watson. So,
Whew.
All right, we're up.
We are available to us. Jared Goff, TJ Hockenson. We're not looking at quarterback right now. So Hockenson, Zeke, Jahan Dotson, Gabe Davis, Jerome Ford, Zach Charbonnet.
I actually like Hockenson here because that's going to give us some upside further down in the contest where Goddard doesn't necessarily offer a ton of upside at tight end.
Yes.
So when we're getting into the money weeks, hopefully Hockenson is going, and then also we have some correlation with the Green Bay stack there as well.
Yes, we like that. TJ Hockenson, a nice little value. He will return.
Right.
And we've seen what he can do, to get into what he would be drafted ahead of Evan Ingram if he was healthy. We're talking how many rounds? Probably 6, 7, 8 round jump if he was healthy for TJ Hockenson.
Oh, at least, yeah, no doubt about it. And we weren't able to get Wicks. We were two picks away from getting Wicks, so we weren't able to add him on, which is fine. We got our Watson, we got our Love, so that's a nice stack. We probably need to be looking at running back here a little bit, and I do like Ford a lot here because I think it's going to be weeks before we get to Nick Chubb coming in.
You think Ford or MarShawn Lloyd? You're like Bradley or Green Bay Homer. Stop it.
No, Lloyd is fine. I mean, we don't need the early season production that bad from Ford, so picking a rookie I think makes sense here. And Wright just went off, so with a stack plus a good rookie in a good situation, especially if Josh Jacobs goes down, I think this is the way to go.
Yeah, the Green Bay Packers have been hyping up MarShawn Lloyd like it's like, I don't know if they gave a bonus to the social media intern to or if the social media intern has MarShawn Lloyd on his or her fantasy team, but Lloyd has been getting hyped to the moon by the Green Bay Packers and their social team. And he looks good. He looks way more dynamic and agile than A.J. Dillon ever did. Like it looked like at one point Dillon was running through mud.
Hey, it takes a lot of effort to move those quads. So
Quadzilla. Cheezo Pete. Yeah, I like that we've gone with some Philly, some Green Bay. Of course, we got to stay on brand. Bradley's got to stay on brand here. And we've hit on some players with very high upside. Nacua, certainly. London, certainly. Pittman and Johnson are more floor wide receivers, but they're not going to disappoint too badly. We're also not into any bye week disasters right now. I
Right.
think we're still okay.
And one thing I really like about this team, Bradley, is the fact that we have so many players from offenses that are projected to be very, very good.
Yes.
I think that it's sometimes a little bit easy to get caught in the, oh, this is a great player, but, if they're not on a great offense, sometimes that doesn't come through and help you out very much. So, sometimes, maybe a lesser player on a better offense might be exactly what you need. So you just have to be watching, and I don't mind taking a few players from lesser offenses. We do have Deontay Johnson from Carolina, for example. And that's fine here and there. You just don't want to build a team out of players from bad offenses.
This is true, because what you're essentially saying is you're parlaying that team is going to be you're parlaying that team is actually going to be good, and you're more likely going to get New England Patriots outcomes for bad teams than you are Houston Texans, because
Right.
the Houston Texans were outliers compared to last year. So
Exactly. All
yes,
right. And I think for the most part, the rest of the way, we're probably going to be focusing pretty much on running back and wide receiver.
I think so too.
Don't mind adding a third tight end to this build.
That makes sense.
I feel okay at quarterback.
Yes, same.
So, all right, who do we have available to us here?
We've got Chandler, Musgrave, Davis, Franklin, Vidal, Algier.
Chandler looks great to me because we can add to that stack, and Aaron Jones hasn't always been the healthiest guy in the world, so. And Chandler's got juice on his own anyway. I think he's going to have a role in this offense. He's going to, have some standalone value. Not every week, but there will be times even if Aaron Jones doesn't miss a game, there might be times where Chandler enters our flex.
Yeah, I think that's very much within the range of outcomes. Chandler played very well at the end of last year. Coach O'Connell was in favor of Chandler in the pre-draft process. I don't think the Minnesota Vikings were planning on signing an Aaron Jones type, but when Aaron Jones became available, sure, at the right price, you're going to pick him up. So we're back on the clock. Do you want to tap Luke Musgrave here?
Yeah, let's do that. Let's just close out that tight end position. I'm going to feel real good about it with Musgrave added in, and that gives us.
We've got the Green Bay stack. It fits.
Yep. Running it back with a couple of Vikings. It's all gravy there.
Oh, here for this. Dan, usually you and I are rivals in terms of, Green Bay, Minnesota, but we, with our powers combined, this team could be Captain Planet would take off. We're here for that. Make sure you guys are following Dan on the X Machine at Overhyped Sleeper, following me on Twitter at FF Stalder. Smash the subscribe button, guys, if you like the content. You found this helpful so far. Dan and I do this StackHunters podcast every week, every Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern. Sometimes we bring on guests. Sometimes we do drafts. Sometimes we talk rankings, all of that. Dan, it's been great drafting with you so far. This has been great, a great experience.
Yeah, for sure. And, I have to apologize for Bradley for being an unreliable podcast partner because I keep going on vacation. So.
No. No,
I'm just forcing you to keep your options open, and, invite other people on from time to time. And, I really have enjoyed being part of this podcast. It's a lot of fun for me. Every week I look forward to it. So I'm thrilled to be here. I'm really thrilled with the team we're putting together. I think this is a really nice one.
This is a very, very nice one. I think that it has also just come to us. Like, we haven't forced anything. We got major value on Rachaad White. We got Drake London to fall a little bit. Michael Pittman was a nice little tap. Jalen Hurts coming back to us. Jordan Love falling into our lap to stack with Christian Watson. And then that set up Luke Musgrave and MarShawn Lloyd. Oh, it's beautiful.
It really is. It's it often does not come together quite this well, folks.
No, it does not. It does not. This is very, very nice. We're here for this.
Yep.
Yeah, so we're getting into round 15, 16, 17, and 18. And at this point, Dan, the focus is less on player takes and more on who is going to fit my build, right? What positions am I going to fill? What bye weeks am I going to get bitten by? What other week 17 correlations can fit with my build? That's what we're focusing on here. And I used to be of the opinion, well, I'm just gonna take my guys here in the later rounds, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. But taking your guys in the right structure or context is, I think, where we want to go in terms of these end of draft type of picks. So any other thoughts about the last couple picks in your draft, how fantasy managers should be handling that?
Yeah, I mean, I think the main thing is you want to have enough of your guys in the later rounds that you can fold them into your strategy, so you're not feeling like, oh, I got I've got to take Marvin Mims because he's my guy, and whether or not Marvin Mims fits your strategy, you just take him. It's nice to say, hey, I'm also fine with Wan'Dale Robinson or Zay Jones here as well, and so depending on what my build is looking like, depending on what my bye weeks are looking like, I might go with one of those guys.
You said a player that I'm very in on this year, though, and that is Wan'Dale Robinson. He's going to be the wide receiver 2 on this team. Darren Waller is most likely going to retire. And Daniel Jones is already throwing at OTAs. He's declared that he's going to play week 1.
Yep. Yeah, let's go ahead and go with Wan'Dale. I think if let me double check something here. I want to take a look at Green Bay's shootouts. Okay, yeah, they don't play Chicago unfortunately until week 18. So that's not the correlation I was looking for, but Roschon Johnson is still a player I don't mind here at all.
See, I am of the opinion that Khalil Herbert is a player I'm not against. If he stays in Chicago, I love him. If he leaves, I love him even more because he's probably going to Dallas, right?
I mean, that could happen. So, yeah, I'm fine with that. I've got a decent amount of Roschon, so I probably need to up my exposure to Khalil anyway. So, I'll do that by proxy through you, Bradley.
Okay. I'm a Khalil Herbert believer.
When you win the million,
we'll give you. We will
or
splitsy
so.
there, Dan. You have it on record that if we win because of this one, we will we'll splitsy. I'll make sure that Dan Williamson gets his cut for sure.
All right. If it's Herbert that wins it, then it's 75-25 for you.
We have it on video, folks. We have it on video. The lawyers will use the video.
That's right.
Oh, man, this is great. I actually like how our running back room is turning out because I don't think that any of these guys are going to be zeros barring injury. Like, they're still going to be involved in whatever offense. Joe Mixon, obviously, Rachaad White, obviously, but like MarShawn Lloyd's still going to get a sprinkling. Ty Chandler is going to get sprinkled in. You're going to get Khalil Herbert a few touches here and there. So I don't think you're going to get zeros from any of these guys, even though our focus has been wide receiver. Mm-hmm. What are your takes on that, Dan?
Yeah, I fully agree, and we're sitting in a nice spot. When I was just looking at our running back and wide receiver bye weeks, we're really sitting in a nice spot with the running backs because we don't have any matching buys with the running back. So each one has their own bye week, and we have 2 week 11s,
and that's it.
And that's it at at wide receiver, and even our tight ends are differentiated from both the running back and the wide receiver pretty well. So this build has come together very nice as far as bye weeks as well.
And by the time Musgrave has his bye, we anticipate Hockenson will be back.
Right. Yep. Exactly. So I think we're good. Yeah. The Dallas Goedert bye week 5 is probably the toughest one to overcome, but that's all right.
Still like that's not going to move the needle too badly. I think we do want to hit on one wide receiver and one running back the rest of the way. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I was thinking exactly the same thing. So we're on the same page there. Why don't we take a look real quick at just the running backs?
Sure.
And see.
I've been taking a rotation of Garendo and Hull and Justice Hill.
Yeah, I don't mind throwing Tank Bigsby in there either.
Tank Bigsby.
Yeah, I think
Jacksonville bounce back.
Yeah, and a Bigsby bounce back. I mean, basically he had a few things go the wrong way for him, and I think that Jacksonville is definitely going to give him another chance. And I think he's a better player than what he showed last year.
When they invested third-round draft capital, I don't think they're just going to give up on him, especially
Exactly.
given all the chatter that's come out of Jacksonville pre-draft, and that they didn't really address the running back position with a bona fide running back. And so I think that there's signals to us that Jacksonville is comfortable with Tank Bigsby despite the bad play last year.
Yeah. Yep. Definitely. All right. So we're going to be coming up with a wide receiver here. What are your thoughts here, Bradley? Who do you like best at wide receiver right now?
Yeah, let me scroll through. I think Trey Palmer is interesting. He's a dog. Like he's a 10 out of 10 on Cody Carpentier's dog rating. I don't want to scroll too crazy. DeMario Douglas seems like a nice little floor last round guy.
Mm-hmm.
A.T. Perry,
Yep.
I think is interesting.
Yes.
I
like all those answers.
Yes. So
I think Dortch is also kind of interesting as well.
I thought so. I'm probably going to wait until we find out more about Dortch in Arizona, but what do you think? Douglas, maybe?
Yeah, that's fine. Let's do Douglas.
Okay. I think Douglas was the wide receiver 1 for them last year.
Right.
And look, the pathway for Javon Baker or Jalen Polk, I think Jalen Polk is a wide receiver I've been clicking a lot of when I've been trying to backdoor stack and thinking about Jalen Polk and Drake May. And Polk is probably the cheapest wide receiver that has the strongest pathway to be wide receiver 1, but maybe it takes him a while. And DeMario Douglas median target share last year was 20%.
Yep, and I'm going against the rule that I think of as my number 1 rule in Dynasty: never take a 4th round wide receiver over a 2nd round wide receiver. But I really like Javon Baker a whole lot better than Polk. I was surprised that Polk got that draft capital, to be honest.
Yeah, the Javon Baker also has that dog in him. Cody Carpentier has him highly rated in the dog rating. So, yeah, we've got a full team here, and we'll do a recap here in just a moment. Let me pull up the board, and Dan and I will go through our selections. Puka Nacua in round 1. Drake London came back to us in round 2. Michael Pittman in round 3. We went wide receiver, and then we went Jalen Hurts at the 4-4, Joe Mixon, Rachaad White, round 5, round 6, Deontay Johnson in round number 7, pick 81. We double tapped Christian Watson and Jordan Love in rounds 8 and 9. We stacked Dallas Goedert with Jalen Hurts. TJ Hockenson was a nice little correlation selection. And then we came back and went with another Green Bay player, MarShawn Lloyd, round 12, Ty Chandler in round 13. So we got more Minnesota Green Bay. And we came back to Green Bay and Luke Musgrave. So we triple tapped tight end. Wan'Dale Robinson in round 15, I thought was a great value. Khalil Herbert tanked Bigsby in round 16 and 17 to round out our running back room. And our last pick of the draft, DeMario Douglas. And Michael said they drafted another running back this year. Kylan Robinson is like a wide receiver running back hybrid who's going to probably be most focused on special teams. So, yes, that's technically true, but there's been so much love for Bigsby coming out of Jacksonville. It's really hard to ignore that.
Yep. Yeah, definitely. I like that. As a Jags fan, please don't take Bigsby.
It's too late. It's too late.
Yep.
Awesome. So that's Bestball Mania 5 draft brought to you by Dan Williamson and Bradley Stalder. Make sure you're following Dan on the X Machine at Overhyped Sleeper. Make sure you're following me on Twitter at FF Stalder. Dan and I do these podcasts every week, whether it's Dan or another guest or me and another guest, whoever it is. We're going to be here, StackHunters, on Thursdays, 8 p.m. Eastern. Any other thoughts, Dan, before we close out the night?
No, I think, this just shows that, it's not too early to be drafting best balls. It's a nice time to get in there. We were able to put together some really nice stacks. And despite the fact that there was when I think you said 6 shields before our pick, don't worry about that kind of stuff. It's not that important. If you see a lot of shields in your room or even the double shields or whatever, just it's not that big a deal. I mean, they have access to the same player pool you do. So there's no way they can get a huge advantage other than, if you let them have it. So just draft your best and don't worry about the other people too much.
Yes. Do not worry about other teams. Do not try to also snipe or tank other teams. All it does is it hurts you more. I don't think people realize that sometimes. If there's not a reason for you to take that particular player, I'm not saying this selfishly. I'm saying you're going to pull yourself down to take other people down. That just means someone else is getting elevated. Ultimately, what we found, and I think there's best ball data to suggest that if there are significant misselections, that the player immediately before or after those are the ones who reap the most benefits. So, definitely don't be going out of your way. Use the guardrails that Todd Burrows talks about all the time to ensure that your structure is okay, your week 17s are okay. You've got appropriate positional allotment. If you want to use Dan and my draft tonight as one of the models for that, you can certainly do that. But we've been doing these types of drafts for years and years and probably have thousands upon thousands of drafts under our belts between the both of us. So definitely, we're here to help you guys. And if you've got questions or comments, hit us up on the Twitter, hit us up on DMs. We're happy to help. And one of the components that Dan, you and I, maybe we can look at in the future is doing some best ball grades as well. I asked for teams in the past to be submitted to me and gave an evaluation of how well or how poorly the team ended up being drafted. So that's something that we can look to in the future as well. If you're interested, send us those things in the Twitter DMs, and we'll be happy to take a look at it. On behalf of Dan Williamson, I'm Bradley Stalder. Until next time, good luck in the best ball streets, everybody.
From the Podfather to you, I deeply appreciate you tuning in. And many ask, what can I do? What can I do to help support the hosts, the research they do, the production costs? Go to PlayerProfiler.com, Dynasty Deluxe, World Famous Draft Kit, Rankings, DFS Dominator, and of course, data analysis. Subscribe to any one of those, and you support all of us and take Player Profiler to the moon.